Starring, if that's the right word in this context, Pia Zadora. Presumably a Santa Claus.
That's one she's kept quiet.
Which one she was. All right, you know, you've heard of yuppies, yes?
Yep.
Upward mobile.
Young, upwardly mobile, professional, whatever people, yes.
Pain.
What happens to them when they become 40?
Downies.
Yes, they're described...
Print a menu.
It was pretty high.
Nice Christmas song.
Yes, it's coming up now.
BBC TV series over a 9-year period until its end in 1971.
Anything else, apart from inviting you to have lunch with him at the Royal Stag?
Oh, yes, Doctor, he did. He said I was a very comely woman.
Well, that's no more than the truth. But I think I'll just better have a word with him. Janet, you are a very comely woman.
The actor Bill Simpson, who died yesterday.
The general election, and they're saying that Mrs. Thatcher wants the tax relief threshold raised from £30,000 to £35,000 on mortgages in the next spring's pre-election budget. They're saying that she will see this as a major vote winner. May well be as well.
That would be very popular, wouldn't it?
It certainly would be popular with a lot of mortgage borrowers of around 30 to 35,000. Yes.
Absolutely. The Times leads on
Until Dana and the cast of Snow White in Oxford decided to play fairy godmother, and Heather Scott was there too.
Once upon a time, when all the boys and girls in the land were preparing to go to the panto with their mums and dads, there was one little girl in Oxford for whom that dream could never come true. Jenny Foster's mum, Eileen, is agoraphobic, and the thought of going out to a crowded theatre panicked her. It made her feel rather sad that she wasn't able to see her little girl's enjoyment of a panto. But this year, help was at hand. The Apollo Theatre in Oxford waved a magic wand, made the crowds disappear, and gave Jenny and Eileen a special performance of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs all to themselves. Stars of the show, Dana and former EastEnders heartthrob Ross Davidson, were more than happy to oblige Eileen.
If I couldn't take my children to a pantomime, or somebody else had to take them to experience that, I know I'd be heartbroken. So it was special.
Well, I think it's so important. I think she's got to enjoy herself, have a great time. I think it's all part of Christmas. I think it just adds to it, you know.
So there they sat in splendid isolation, but that didn't stop their enjoyment. Jenny really threw herself into the show. Even though she's only 5 years old and without the moral support of hordes of other children, the wicked queen didn't faze her one bit, nor did her rather fierce mirror on the wall. And as for Mum, she was thrilled at her own performance.
It's been a great help because it means that I've actually come out and done something. Every time that you go outside, it helps you. It's one step forward. Otherwise, you just stay indoors and you never try anything, and then you'll never beat the agoraphobia.
With a bit of luck, there may soon be a time when Jenny and Eileen will be able to join everybody else for a normal performance. Heather Scott, TVAM in Oxford.
Oh, well, that's a nice little story, wasn't it? Conquered phobias, good news for everybody. In case you've lost count, the dreadful news, there are only 3 days left before Christmas. And every day till then we'll be talking to leading churchmen about what Christmas 86 should at least mean to all of us. Well, today we're joined by really...
40 years. Already 48 people have died as a result. Scandinavian countries nearby have been caught up in the bitter blast as well. In Norway, it's down to minus 34 degrees, and in Sweden, minus 43. The only consolation is that the foul weather has had to pass over the relatively warmer North Sea to get to us. And that, according to the forecasters, is how the temperatures in Britain appear almost tropical by comparison to the countries from which they originate. But even so, the eastern side of Britain, particularly Kent and Norfolk, have been hardest hit.
Can't really see an end to it, but it looks as if it's going to last right through this week.
Is it going to get worse?
In some respects, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I don't think it's going to get that much colder, but I think we might see rather more in the way of snow before it's all over.
Motorway police are warning people to make only essential journeys after a spate of accidents on icy roads. They say conditions are treacherous. The motoring organisations say they've had a record number of calls from motorists who've broken down because they hadn't prepared their cars for the freezing weather. On the M25, police have complained that their biggest problem has been reckless drivers rather than the ice. But the best place to be, if you can, is indoors, and that, of course, costs money to heat, especially for the old. Age Concerned have launched an appeal to raise cash to help the elderly through the worst of the weather. They say they want to prevent a repetition of last year when nearly 1,100 pensioners died of hypothermia. This may all look Christmassy and like a picture postcard, but if you're old and you're cold, there's very little to enjoy in this sort of weather. Heather Scott for TVAM in Kent.
Sobering thoughts, sobering thoughts. Now then, let's just brighten things a little bit. So the British, as we know, are renowned for their patience. They'll wait and they'll wait. They'll die of old age while they wait, but at a certain restaurant in Berkshire, they decided they could no longer wait. For 2 hours they waited, while the restaurant staff said, have some more drink. Food ain't quite on its way yet, I'm afraid, but do have more drink. The drink had its effect, and when police arrived at the restaurant in Berkshire, according to many newspapers, they found the chef was about to have his head stuffed into a bowl of spaghetti bolognese sauce, which is presumably cold and not warm. Apparently, waitresses were having screaming hysterics. Plates were smashed on the floor, and spaghetti was strewn all round the kitchen. And for those with sport in mind, just to describe the position of the chef, a police spokesman said, when our officers arrived, they found one of the guests had the chef in an arm lock, just for the technical description of his position, and was about to plunge his head into that bolognese. Even the British don't wait forever. Now, we can't wait for sport, can we? Cricket first. Let's find out what's going on. England have fought their way out of trouble in the 5th test in Sydney, although they're still a little bit perilous. Resuming at 132 for 5 this morning, Australia are 48 for 2 in their second innings. But look at England's second innings. They scored 275, and the unknown, Peter Taylor, 6 for 78. So now all Australian selectors are saying, we are genii, we are not idiots. We did pick the right man. I wonder. In FA Cup third-round matches, Alan Irvine gave Crystal Palace a...
Temperatures have plunged to the lowest so far this winter, with -14 centigrade recorded overnight in East Anglia. In Kent, roads are blocked, and Maidstone and Sittingbourne are among the towns that have been cut off. The weather's been blamed for the deaths of at least 7 people. In Chester, 3 men were killed by fumes from a bottled gas heater being used to boost the central heating. And a man of 81 died in a blaze as he huddled up to a faulty electric fire at Honiton in Devon. 3 pensioners were found dead in their homes in Bracknell and Maidenhead.
The cold weather is coming to us from Siberia, where Russians are suffering their worst winter in nearly 40 years. The only consolation for us, according to the weather forecasters, is that it's warmed up as it passes over the North Sea on its way here.
One thing that is perhaps a little unusual is that very few places in the country have escaped this coldness. It's just about nationwide.
Motorway police are warning drivers to make only essential journeys after a spate of accidents. They say their biggest problem is reckless drivers and not the ice. Kent has been particularly hard hit, with every major road blocked overnight. And although the houses may look pretty, it's not much fun for the elderly. Age Concern have launched an appeal to help old people through the freezing weather. They want to prevent a repetition of last year, where nearly 1,100 pensioners died of hypothermia.
A newborn baby was found abandoned in a phone box in North London last night. The baby boy was in a cardboard box with a blanket, a dummy and a bottle of milk. He was discovered by a teenage couple who took him to hospital. Police are now trying to trace the baby's mother. Labour MPs will today demand a common statement about the military lorry thought to be carrying nuclear weapons that crashed into a field in Wiltshire.
Oh, what are the do's and don'ts when you get there?
Well, the main one really is don't apply anything hot to a frozen windscreen.
Well, so in other words, boiling water's no good, it might shatter the windscreen, or what?
That's right. You need to use a tepid water, or just scrape it. It takes a little bit longer, but it's the best in the end.
Right. Now, in terms of actual driving, presumably, it's the age-old advice, isn't it? No sharp changes in speed, no sharp braking, etc., etc.
That's right. Indicate plenty in advance of making any manoeuvre, so that the person behind you knows exactly what you're going to do. And really, it's the same advice you give any time. Keep a good, safe distance between you and the car in front. It's also worth remembering that wherever you're going on your journey, to allow plenty of time to get there.
You obviously receive in your offices the news of a lot of the accidents. What are the recurring themes of accidents in the ice?
Well, they tend to be people ring up and say that, well, I applied my brakes and the car just kept going and kept going until it hit something.
Right. Now, obviously, people almost throughout Britain will be looking out on a very white landscape today. But what are the worst areas? What are the real hazard spots today?
Well, definitely the worst area at the moment appears to be Kent. There are drifts of up to 3 feet in parts of Kent. The Isle of Sheppey's completely cut off. Maidstone's nearly in danger of being cut off completely. Most of the roads there have got speed restrictions on them. And in fact, Kent police have called and told us that really the advice is if you've got a journey to do in Kent, either do it by public transport or postpone it. They really don't think it's worth going out. And it's right the way up that eastern side of the country.
OK, Dave, well, thanks for that. A few brief tips of advice. We'll get some more news and advice from you later in the morning. My thanks to you. Now then, let's move on to cricket. At least that's carrying on, because at the moment, obviously, it's taking place in sunshine and heat. England actually have fought back fairly strongly in the 5th and final test against Australia in Sydney. Now, there's the latest score that we have. England were 275 all out in their first innings. That unknown Peter Taylor taking 6 for 78. Australia, we hear, are 55 for 2. But joining us live from Sydney with the very latest news, we hope, is Geoffrey Boycott. Good morning to you, Jeff.
Good morning there.
What's the latest score that you have at the moment, Jeff?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Just about.
What is the latest score you have, Jeff?
66 for 2. Alan Border's in now with Dean Jones. Dean Jones has been bogged down by Embury and Edmonds, but Border's playing really well. He's 32 not out. We struck 2 early wickets, getting Marsh out for 14, caught by Embury at slip off Dilly. Nice low-down catch. Ritchie was out for 13. Caught a lovely catch, his slip low down by Botham off Edmonds. But we must get rid of Border. We could do with another wicket tonight because they're just getting in a pretty good position in Australia.
If we don't get rid of Border, Jeff, do you feel a little bit worried now for England's hopes in the final test?
Well, yes, because they've got a lead of 68 to start with. It's a good cricket pitch, is this. If you bat well, if you concentrate hard, if you're fairly watchful in defence and then play the odd good shot when you've got it just right, you can make runs. You can't afford to make silly mistakes, and I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game. And England have got to bat fourth. The ball's never going to jump at them. It's never going to frighten them out, but they're going to have to play with a lot of application. And Embury played really well today. He played with a lot of watchful defence and some good attacking shots and played very well. But I'm just a bit worried. We need a wicket or two.
Geoffrey, I'm sure that England cricket fans will join you in their worry, although let's face it, it's been a great tour so far. We'll join you in about an hour's time, Jeff.
OK, sir.
Being called sir by Geoffrey Boycott. Whew, I've made it. Now then, let's move on to football. And Nottingham Forest's exit from the
The usual thing is to get an old metal dustbin lid or, you know, one of those old sort of tin dishes that you used to do your washing up in, and stand it on 4 bricks with a night light burning underneath. So if you've got to scour the shops a bit for night lights, but they are available, or just a little candle. But that will just take the edge off the frost. The main thing is not to put any salt in the water to stop it freezing, because that defeats the object. And don't put anything in, you know, like antifreeze. People have done it. I know it sounds ridiculous, but don't do that. Just change it as often as you can. I'm afraid it's hard work for everyone. It's rotten, isn't it? There's no fun about this at all. I'm not a skier, so I can't even be delighted about that side of it. The weather is freezing. It's going to continue. There's no ease up today. It's not going to get above freezing anywhere. The snow predominantly in the east and central areas, brighter weather in the west, but still flurries of snow there. And by midday, with that bitterly cold easterly wind still continuing, the best temperature is going to be -3. -6 at worst. Isn't it fabulous, Mike?
No, it's appalling. Thank you, Wincy. That's it from me for the moment, anyway. I'll be back later on with all the latest sports news. But now, with the time almost 7 o'clock, Good Morning Britain with Anne Diamond and Richard Keys.
Snow showers and the